My name is Juan Orrego. My presentation is on the global efforts to combat human trafficking in the legal perspective. Human trafficking is the action or practice of illegal transporting people from one country or area to another, typically for the purpose of forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation. Women and children are the ones that are most likely used for this horrible act. They are usually lured with promises that they will never get and then trafficked. It is very common for victims to be brainwashed. Governments coming together. The United Nations Global Plan of Action to Combat Trafficking in Persons was adopted by the General Assembly on the 30th of July to urge governments worldwide to take coordinated and consistent measures to try to defeat the scourge. It wants to boost development and strengthen security around the world, as well as setting up a United Nations voluntary trust fund for victims of trafficking, especially women and children. The United Nations has estimated that more than 2.4 million people are currently being exploited as victims of human trafficking. The fund aims to help governments, intergovernmental, and non-governmental organizations provide these vulnerable people with protection and support for their physical, psychological, and social recovery. After they have been exploited and abused, they should not be punished. Continuing with governments coming together, the plan of action is the one in which focus on preventing trafficking, prosecuting offenders, and protecting victims. Also stresses the importance of obtaining more research, data, and analysis about the problem. The only way to end human trafficking is by working together between states and within regions, among United Nations entities, and in public-private partnerships. The Palermo Protocol is a protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children, supplementing the United Nations Conventions against Transnational Organized Crime. It is the leading international treaty to combat trafficking in persons. This reaffirmation by governments is an important step towards shutting down the 99 billion sex trafficking industry. The next step is to follow up on this commitment by ensuring there are systems in place to effectively evaluate progress being made in addressing sex trafficking. Taking another initiative, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the UNODC, with financial support from the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, has therefore set in motion a global initiative to fight human trafficking. The process formally launched in London on the 26th of March 2007 is designed to have a long-term impact to create a turning point in the worldwide fight against human trafficking. Throughout 2007 and 2008, events took place across the globe to raise awareness, reduce the vulnerability of potential victims, examine the human impact of this crime, and take action to stop it. Aims to fight human trafficking by building support for the following goals. Raise awareness, inform the world of this crime and mobilize people to stop it. Strengthen prevention, warn vulnerable groups and alleviate the factors that make people vulnerable to trafficking such as poverty, underdevelopment, and lack of opportunity. Reduce demand, attack the problem at its source by lowering incentives to trade and decreasing demand for the products and services of exploited people. Support and protect victims, ensure housing, counseling, medical, psychological, and material assistance, keeping in mind the special needs of women and children and people at risk, such as those in refugee camps and conflict zones. Improve law enforcement, strengthen information exchange between law enforcement agencies on international traffic routes and trafficker profiles in order to dismantle criminal groups, leading to the conviction of traffickers. Implement international commitments. Ensure that international agreements are turned into national laws and practiced by assisting countries in need and improving the monitoring of compliance. Enrich knowledge. Deepen world understanding of the scope and nature of human trafficking through more data collection and analysis, joint research initiatives, and the creation of an evidence-based report on global trafficking trends. Strengthen partnerships. Build up regional and thematic networks involving civil society, intergovernmental organizations, and the private sector. Create a special purpose fund to attract and leverage resources into funding projects around the committed world to ending human trafficking. Create an informal contact group to give like-minded member state ownership of the process and create the long-term momentum.